The room didn't move for a second, just the faint hum of machines, the soft beeping somewhere near my head. My throat burned like I'd been choking for hours. When I blinked, the ceiling above me came into focus in pieces, too bright, too white. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. "Liana?" a voice said, careful, measured. I turned my head slightly. A doctor stood at the foot of the bed, tablet still in his hand. My mom was beside him, arms folded tightly, her expression controlled, but not calm. Not really. "What happened?" I forced out, my voice dry and uneven. "You had a severe episode," he said. His eyes flicked briefly to my mom, then back to me. "We stabilized you." Episode. That word again. I swallowed, my chest still tight. "My medication, I didn't take it yet this morning." My mom let out a quiet breath, almost like a sigh of disappointment. "Liana, you've been inconsistent for weeks," she said gently, too gently. "We've talked about this." I frowned, trying to sit up, but a wave of dizziness pushed me back down. "No, I haven't," I said more firmly this time, even though my hands were still trembling under the blanket. "I take it every day." The doctor didn't respond right away. He just watched me, really watched me, like he was measuring something that didn't quite add up. Behind him, a nurse adjusted something on the IV, then paused, glancing at the screen longer than necessary. "I'm going to ask you something directly," the doctor said, stepping closer to the bed. His tone shifted, less reassuring, more precise. "Have you missed any doses recently?" "Even a few?" Before I could answer, my mom spoke again. "She forgets," she said quickly, "more than she admits." The doctor's eyes moved to her. This time he didn't nod. He just held her gaze for a second, then slowly lowered his tablet. "Mrs. Voss," he said, voice tightening slightly, "can you come with me for a moment?" My mom hesitated, and that was the first time I saw it, something small but unmistakable. Not concern, not confusion, something closer to hesitation. The door closed behind them, and through the thin gap before it shut completely, I heard the doctor say, low and sharp, "Her levels don't match that story." I knew something was wrong the second the door clicked shut. The room felt too quiet without my mom in it, like all the air shifted the moment she stepped out. I stared at the ceiling for a few seconds, trying to steady my breathing, but my chest still felt tight like it hadn't fully recovered. "Hey," the nurse said softly, stepping closer to my bed. "How are you feeling now?" "Like I got hit by a truck," I muttered, then swallowed. "Can I have my medication?" She hesitated. It was subtle, but I caught it. Her hand paused halfway to the tablet. "I'll check on that," she said, carefully neutral. That didn't sit right. "I take it every morning," I added, pushing myself up slightly despite the dizziness. "Same dose. I don't skip." She gave a small nod, but her eyes flicked toward the door, like she was thinking about what had just been said outside. "Do you usually manage it yourself?" she asked. "Yeah," I said immediately, then paused. That wasn't entirely true. "My mom helps sometimes," I admitted. "Oh, she picks up refills if I'm busy, but I take it. Every day." I knew I did. Didn't I? The thought slipped in quietly, unwelcome. The nurse tapped on her screen, scrolling. Her expression didn't change much, but there was a slight crease between her brows now. "Your pharmacy records show consistent refills," she said slowly. "On schedule." "Okay," I said, confused. "That's normal." She didn't respond right away. Instead, she looked back at me, more directly this time. "And you're sure you've been taking the full dosage?" "Yes," I said, sharper now. "I'm sure." But even as I said it, something tugged at the back of my mind. The bottle. It always seemed full. I'd noticed it once or twice, brushing it off, thinking maybe I skipped a day and forgot, or maybe I miscounted. But not like this. Not enough to end up here. A cold feeling started to settle in my stomach. Outside the room, I could hear muffled voices, my mom and the doctor, tense, lower now but not calm. "Dangerously low," the doctor was saying. "I told you she doesn't—" my mom started. "That's not how this works," he cut in, firmer this time. I swung my legs slowly toward the side of the bed, ignoring the slight pull of the IV. "Hey," the nurse stepped forward. "You should stay in bed." "I just need to hear," I said, my voice quieter now, because suddenly I wasn't sure what I'd hear, or who I'd believe. The voices outside sharpened just enough, and then the doctor said something that made my stomach drop. "If she's been taking it like you claim, this shouldn't be possible." The words didn't make sense, but they wouldn't let go of me. This shouldn't be possible. I sat frozen on the edge of the bed, the IV line pulling slightly at my arm, my pulse picking up again. Not from whatever episode they said I had, but from something else. Something colder. "Liana," the nurse warned gently, "you really need to—" "Wait," I whispered, holding up a shaky hand. Because now the silence outside had shifted. It wasn't just tense anymore, it was controlled. Measured. Like the doctor had stopped arguing and started asking. "Who manages her prescriptions?" His voice came through the door, clearer now. Direct. A pause. Too long. "Myself," my mom answered, but there was something off in it. Not the usual confidence she carried, something tighter. I felt it in my chest immediately. That wasn't true. "You just said she forgets," the doctor replied. No emotion, just precision. "So which is it?" "I oversee it," she corrected quickly, "to make sure she's safe." Safe. The word hit wrong. Inside the room, I looked down at my hands. They were still trembling, faintly now, but not like before. This felt different, sharper, focused. Images started lining up in my head, one after another. My mom standing in the kitchen, twisting open my pill bottle. "Just organizing things," she'd said, her voice brushing off my complaints when I felt off. "You're overthinking it, Liana." The bottle in my bathroom cabinet, always heavier than it should have been, always full, too full. My stomach tightened. Outside, the doctor spoke again. "I'm going to be very clear," he said. "Her blood levels show prolonged underdosing. Not missed days, consistent insufficiency over time." Underdosing. The word landed harder than anything else. Not forgetting, not skipping, something else. "No," my mom said quickly. "That doesn't make sense." "It does," he replied. "If the medication isn't being taken as prescribed." "I told you she doesn't—" "And I'm telling you," he cut in, sharper now, "this pattern doesn't come from a patient occasionally forgetting. It comes from controlled intake." Controlled. My chest tightened again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was realization. A slow, creeping kind that made everything else feel too quiet. The nurse beside me shifted slightly, like she could feel it too. The change in the room. In me. "I need to verify something with the pharmacy," the doctor continued outside. "Refill dates, dosages, pickup records." There was a rustle. Papers, maybe. Then my mom's voice, lower now. "You're overcomplicating this." "No," he said. A beat. "I think this has been happening for longer than either of us realized." Something in my chest dropped, because I was starting to realize it too. My eyes drifted toward the door, just as it opened. The doctor stepped back in, a thin stack of printed records in his hand. He didn't look at me first. He looked at my mom, long, still. Then he lifted the papers slightly and said, flatly, "This wasn't a mistake." The room shifted the moment he said it. Not loudly, not dramatically, just everything settled into something heavier. Final. My mom let out a short breath, like she was about to argue, then stopped. For the first time since I'd woken up, she didn't immediately have something to say. "What does that mean?" I asked, my voice quieter now, but steady. The doctor stepped further into the room, closing the door behind him with a soft click. The papers in his hand didn't move, but his grip on them tightened slightly. "It means," he said carefully, "your prescription has been filled consistently, on time, at the correct dosage." I frowned. "Okay, But, he continued, his eyes meeting mine now, your blood work shows levels that are far below what they should be if you were taking it as prescribed, not just recently, over time. A silence stretched between us. I turned my head slowly toward my mom. She was already looking at me. Liana, she said, her voice softer now, almost coaxing. You've been under a lot of stress. You don't always remember things the way they happen. That same tone, the same one she'd used for weeks, months. Something in me snapped into place. No, I said, shaking my head slightly. No, I remember taking it. You think you do. I do, I cut in, sharper this time. The doctor didn't interrupt. He just watched, letting it unfold. I forced myself to sit up straighter, ignoring the lingering weakness. You've been handling my refills, I said, my eyes locked on her now. You said it was easier that way. It is easier, she replied quickly. You get overwhelmed. That's not what I asked. She hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. My heart started pounding again, louder this time, drowning out everything else. The bottle, I said slowly. It was always full. Neither of them spoke. I noticed it, I continued, my voice tightening. I thought I was imagining it. You were, she said quickly, too quickly, but now it didn't land the same way. Now it sounded like a reflex. The doctor finally stepped in. Mrs. Voss, he said, his tone calm but firm. We've requested a full dispensing history from the pharmacy, including pill counts tied to refill intervals. My mom turned to him, her composure cracking at the edges. That's unnecessary. It's already been processed, he replied. Another silence. Thicker this time. I could feel it building. Whatever this was, whatever had been sitting just under the surface for weeks, it was about to come out. My chest tightened, not from the episode this time, but from something sharper, anticipation, fear, recognition, because there was only one explanation left that made sense, and I wasn't sure I wanted to hear it out loud. The doctor looked between us once more, then lowered his voice slightly. When those records come back, he said, they're going to show exactly how much medication should still be in your possession. He paused, then added, and whether it matches what's actually been taken. My mom didn't respond. She just stood there, silent, still, and for the first time in my life, she looked like she didn't have control of the situation anymore. The monitor beside me beeped steadily in the quiet. Seconds passed. Then footsteps approached the door again. A knock. The nurse stepped in, holding another set of documents. Doctor, she said, handing them over. This just came through. He took them, looked down, scanned the page once, then again, slower this time. And when he finally looked up, his expression had completely changed. Not confused, not questioning, certain. He turned the paper slightly, just enough that my mom could see it too, and said, in a voice that didn't leave room for denial, "These counts don't line up." For a second, no one moved. The paper in the doctor's hand didn't shake. His voice didn't rise, but the weight of what he'd just said settled over the room like something irreversible. These counts don't line up. I stared at my mom, not waiting anymore, just looking. Explain it, I said. My voice didn't crack this time. She didn't answer. Her eyes flicked to the paper, then back to me, like she was searching for a version of this that still worked in her favor. There has to be a mistake, she said finally, but it sounded thinner now, stripped of that certainty she always had. There isn't, the doctor replied. Your pharmacy dispensed a full monthly supply. Repeatedly, based on her dosage, there should be a specific remainder before each refill. He lifted the page slightly, but her blood levels show she's been receiving a fraction of that dose, consistently. A fraction. My chest tightened, not physically this time, but deeper. I didn't look away from her. Where is it? Silence. Mom, I said again, slower. Where is my medication? Her jaw tightened. I adjusted it, she said. The words landed quietly, but harder than anything else. What? I whispered. You don't need that much. she continued, more firmly now, like she was stepping back into something familiar. You were becoming dependent. You couldn't function without it. I can't function without it, I shot back, my voice rising despite the weakness still lingering in my body. You watched me get worse. You were anxious, she snapped. Overreacting, I was helping you stabilize. By replacing it, I asked. That's when she hesitated again, and that hesitation said everything. The doctor stepped in, his tone no longer neutral. Replacing it with what? My mom didn't answer. He didn't wait this time. We'll need the bottles, he said. All of them. Immediately. A nurse moved toward the door, already pulling out her phone. No, my mom said quickly, stepping forward. This is being blown out of proportion. No, the doctor said again, firmer now. This is medical interference resulting in a critical event. The words hit like a verdict. I leaned back against the bed, my hands cold now. You switched them, I said, more to myself than anyone else. That's why the bottle was always full. She didn't deny it, didn't even try this time. I gave you something safer, she said. Vitamins, supplements. You didn't notice the difference at first. I let out a breath, short, hollow. I noticed, I said quietly. I just trusted you when you told me I was imagining it. That landed. She looked at me then, not defensive, not controlled, just caught. Everything after that moved quickly. The hospital documented everything. The doctor filed an incident report before the hour was over. Another physician came in, then a caseworker. Questions layered on top of questions, each one more precise than the last. My mom tried at first, tried to reframe it, minimize it, call it concern. But the records didn't bend, the lab results didn't change, and I didn't back her up. By the end of the day, she wasn't sitting next to my bed anymore. She was down the hall, answering to someone else. The next week felt unreal in a different way. There were calls, reports, a formal investigation. The word endangerment came up more than once. I learned things I hadn't known I needed to about medical autonomy, about interference, about what happens when someone deliberately alters prescribed treatment. She wasn't allowed to manage anything for me anymore. Not prescriptions, not appointments, nothing. A protective order was suggested, then filed. Family started calling. At first confused, then quiet, because there wasn't really a version of this that sounded better when explained. And through all of it, I kept thinking about something simple, how certain she had been, how easily she said, "You don't need it." 2 weeks later, I was discharged. The apartment was small, quiet, temporary, but mine. No shared cabinets, no one reorganizing anything behind me. I stood in the kitchen that first night, holding a new prescription bottle in my hand. My name on it, my dosage, sealed, untouched. I opened it slowly, paused, not because I doubted it, because I finally understood what it meant to not have to. I took the pill with a glass of water, set the bottle down on the counter, and just stood there for a second, waiting. Nothing felt wrong, no hesitation, no second voice correcting me, just stillness. My phone buzzed behind me on the counter. I glanced at the screen, her name. I let it ring, watched it light up, then go dark. And for the first time in months, I didn't question myself. I just turned away. I picked up the bottle and walked out of the kitchen. Because now, finally, there was no one left to take it from me.